There's so many healthy benefits of expressing gratitude. I say go to town. Never do too much.
You're listening to Good is in the Details. I'm Gwendolyn Dolske.
And I'm Rudy Salo.
And this is the podcast where we learn what we didn't know in the spirit of Socrates, all with the aim of a happy life, a more knowledgeable life, a reflective life. Today's guest, this is big for the Gen Xers. You'll know just by the title of this book. And when you hear the title of this book, you'll know why I had to reach out to the author. The book is called Growing Up Happy in a Lonely World, a mixtape memoir. And our guest is the author, Nicole Morrison. When I saw happy and I saw mixtape in the title, that's when I knew this is definitely for us. And what an absolute joy to get her book. It was raw, it was honest, it was vulnerable, it was poetic. For all the Gen Xers out there, it'll bring back a bunch of memories of growing up in the 80s. I loved talking to Nicole because this book is not only memoir, but it's also got some really profound philosophical questions for the reader to call on them to remember their own journey in childhood, remember the people who were around them, the people who loved them. And then we've got the metaphor of the mixtape. You know, we've got so many memories. Well, wait, Rudy, I gotta pause. Did you make mixtapes for other people?
Of course. I grew up in...
That's like, is the Pope Catholic?
I mean, and in the late 90s and early 2000s, we even made mixed CDs.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so mixed all kinds of things together, tapes, CDs, everything.
And the effort that would go into it, because whoever you were giving it to, you were like bearing your soul through the songs and how you ordered them, right?
Yeah. I mean, these days, the equivalent is to make an Apple Music playlist and share it. It's not quite the same thing because hopefully the person has an Apple Music subscription, because if they don't, then it's going to be really expensive for them to download stuff. Or B,
always practical, Rudy. Always practical.
This is true. But you could still make a mix, but it's not the same. It'll never be the same.
The amount of effort that it would take to put a mixtape together, the vulnerability of the tape itself, because it's something that won't last forever. Her book, using that as a metaphor, then when you're reading it, you also encounter that. The beauty of the expression and the fact that it's capturing a moment in time and that it is fragile, right? All of those things are in there. So anyway, bravo to Nicole for, I think, the best title. It reminds me of Human is the New Vinyl, which was just a fabulous title as well. We've also got this concept of memoir, and in existentialism, we have a lot of memoir. So from a philosophical angle, I've always found this really fascinating because when we're seeking truth, we are maybe directed to the sciences or to mathematics, things that are objective. Or in law, we can have argument structure. These are objective, absolute rules that we all agree on. So when we're looking for truth, there's that manner. And yet the memoir is somewhere in there because it is a truth that hinges on the reality of point of view, of subjectivity. And so even though we know we're not getting a historical book or a science book, memoirs are really a beautiful way for us to appreciate the value and the uniqueness of our humanity in that everybody experiences the world with their own particular point of view. And that's the kind of truth that we're seeking, not only in this particular case with Nicole's point of view, but also the universal elements that can relate to childhood, trying to fit in, problems with your folks, problems with the communities, things that you love with the communities, things with your friends. All of this stuff is really universal. It's also extremely valuable and a way to feel connected for Nicole to write this, to share her story, and then also for us to read it. So it's a brand new book. I'm obviously linking it in the show notes. I've updated goodisinthedetails.com. So please go there because we've got tons of books and resources there. You can also go to patreon.com, where you can support the pod and get more philosophy resources and lessons. Extend the conversation, if you will. All right. Well, I'm excited. All right, here's our episode. Let's talk about happiness and growing up and the mixtape metaphor with Nicole Morrison. Reading your work, there were so many memories that popped up, especially with the songs and just the fact that you talk about a mixtape. Okay, how would you explain? Oh, I love it. Rudy, look at her shirt. Wait, Nicole, do that again. That's awesome. Mixtape with the pencil in it. Rudy, did
Do
you
you
say?
remember having to do that? Rewind your tape sometimes with a
Do,
pencil?
and it's appropriate for today. What I'm going to see later tonight for the first time ever, which is strange because it's around the corner from me, and I go to a lot of music festivals. I'm going to the Beach Life Festival. Duran Duran is playing,
Oh,
and
cool.
Duran Duran is something from my youth that I don't want to, nor will I ever erase. Great memories of watching those great videos on MTV, and I saw them a couple years ago and was blown away about how good they look and sound, and they just sound better than a lot of bands today. So that's a great shirt.
Awesome.
How would you explain mixtape to Gen Z or maybe even Gen Alpha? Because it does a couple of things. It brings back these memories of the 80s. At the same time, you're using it as a metaphor. Could you explain it? And why did you choose mixtape as the metaphor?
I think I chose it because music has just been such a huge piece of my life. For some of those songs, it's how I got through a lot of things. Back in the day, we used to sit on Casey Kasem's Top 40
Yeah.
with the boombox, a tape in there. I'd have record down already because you had his intro and then you wanted to get the song and then hit the pause button so you could start recording the song. I have all these mixed tapes of all my favorite songs. And if you were ever in my friend circle, you probably got one from me. And then I moved on to mixed discs. So I made some of those too, but songs that either were part of our relationship, if we were friends or dating or whatever it might be. I always was known for my mixtapes. I even found one that I made my grandparents who are no longer here. So it's a
Wow.
mixtape to my grandma and grandpa that I need to get some batteries for my boombox and put that in and listen to it. I have reflection after every chapter or track, I call them, and then songs to help with the reflection or song that was part of my journey with that chapter or just kind of correlated with it. Mixtape came up because I wanted to integrate music and memories, reflection.
I love the reflections. I'm going to put some of the reflections on Instagram and I'll, obviously say this is from your book. They kind of took my breath away. I think that wants me to get into your style of writing because I don't share your story, but somehow I'm shared in your story. I don't know how you managed to pull that off because it's incredibly vulnerable and open and personal to you. But at the same time, as I was reading, I could put myself in those spaces. And maybe it's because of the time frame. I'm not sure. It had this like stand by me quality kind of at some points. The poetry form, the prose, the reflection. How did this all come about for you?
What you said, I hear a lot. We don't have the same story, yet I felt like that was my story, is what a
Yeah.
lot of people, they felt pulled in, they felt seen, and that kind of stuff. And so my writing process or how it started is it's just kind of how I talk a lot of times. When I decided to write the book in December of 24, I was just kind of writing stories as they came to me. So I had this Google Doc. I would just add stories as I thought of them. And then I did that for about 4 or 5 months. From there, I started kind of making it somewhat chronological. I'm like, well, this brings upon a lot of reflection because that's what writing the book did for me. It was a release. It was reflection. Took off after I went through a coaching program that helped me kind of heal my little Nicole. I was hoping that by doing the reflection parts, it would help other people heal, find things in their life that kind of connect the dots and make sense of why they feel this way, whether it's physiologically, emotionally, whatever it might be, an understanding to their history, to where they are today and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, like my son, he's like, Mom, it was like you were just sitting right there reading it next to me. It was like just having a conversation. And that's what I hear a lot too, is it just felt very conversational.
Yes. These were a couple of lessons that you wrote. Some of these lines I just have to read out. You don't owe silence to anyone who hurt you. Okay. Healing won't be linear. You'll feel strong one day and gutted the next. Both are part of the process. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it never means pretending it didn't matter. Okay. And then this is, okay, see, I'm going to start getting tears. One day, your story will be a lifeline for someone else. And I think this is written toward the beginning of your book, but that one definitely gave me pause because as I was reading your work and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's it's also gutsy. Women don't talk about when they were kids and behind the bleachers and another kid is inappropriate. We are told that, oh, that just happens to everybody. Like I said, your stuff is bringing up memories for me that I guess I never spoke about because I dismissed them as unimportant and part of childhood. You writing this is saying, hey, look, I'm telling the story could be a lifeline for someone else. Have you had this experience where somebody is encountering your work? They realized as they were reading it, this is kind of my realization, you are the voice that I needed, but didn't know that I needed because I didn't know it was worthy of speaking because I was told that this doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm starting to hear it a lot on so many different levels, from very intense emotional trauma, a physical trauma, whatever it might be, to something that they just kind of brushed off because you're brought up that that's not supposed to be a big deal. So I'm seeing and hearing people reach out on so many levels. Just last week, I did an author talk at the college that I work at, and it was so interesting. I had people coming up afterwards and saying, you know, I've tried to take my life 3 times. One young man bought the book and he's like, I'm not always the best supporter. I can do better. I'm hearing it from so many different directions. And I didn't know how it would resonate with men. And so I'm interested to hear what Rudy has to say and that kind of stuff too. But, you know, I've gotten emails or Facebook messages from men who are like, wow, I had no idea. Because I'm always the strong one. That's the thing, is that when people who know me read this, they're like, we had no idea. You're the get things done. You're the strong one. Make things happen. We never in our wildest dreams would have thought that you were going through all this. And so then they are reaching out to other people in their life that maybe they weren't aware that they were going through it too. And so it's creating this ripple effect of people either noticing or being more understanding, but also feeling seen or understood.
I've certainly been in that position before where you're on a very difficult path. You have a million things going wrong, if you will. I think you have 2 choices, right? You keep moving forward, you put your head down, you get through it, or you sit around and you talk and you complain about it. And quite frankly, you probably are not going to get much done. Sounds like what you did was just, well, I just put my head down and I went through it. And now I feel comfortable talking about it. Why? Well, A, I'm through it. B, I believe in the power of words. When you are just sitting around complaining about something rather than actually taking action, you're just surrounding yourself by more negativity. So I've definitely been in your situation where I've explained, well, yeah, I achieved XYZ, but here's all those other things that I had to go through. And people are like, oh my, I had no idea. I'm like, well, you know, I didn't want anybody to know. What I do is listen to a hell of a lot of music when I'm going through stuff. And I go back to the songs of my youth and I go to music that produces positive energy. You know, a lot of songs are about people going through hard things, love, life, loss. Some of that can be power because typically in the song, there's some kind of where somebody's like, well, I'm going to keep moving forward. And so music helps with that is what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is something that I'm wondering might be a parallel between, you know, your experience and Nicole's, is that I know you, like we grew up in the same space. And as kids, we kind of go through like all the ups and downs that come with wanting to be accepted and popularity and dances. But then not until older that I realized that an extra existential layer to your growing up is being Arab American. And I feel like maybe that's kind of what Nicole is saying, is everybody knows her as Nicole. And then as she's older, she's starting to reflect on these other things, this extra existential layer to her childhood. And everybody's kind of like, oh, wow, I've known you all this time. I didn't know. For you, Rudy, how old do you think you were before you felt comfortable talking about the experiences of being Arab American and growing up in Orange County?
Yeah. No, it's a really good observation. It came with maturity. It came with reflection. It came with having the time to look back and just kind of do some self-exploration. It came with history, right? I approach everything from a historical perspective. Me, relationships, the world, laws, even music. You know, how did this genre start? Who was the original? What does that sound like? It must have been like after law school or something, where, you know, when you go through law school, you learn a higher level of critical thinking. You're not just critically analyzing the law. You're not just critically analyzing a case. You're critically analyzing everything. And you try to look back and think about things. Only with maturity was I able to put all of the pieces together of my life. Because sometimes if you try to do it when you're younger and your worldview or your life view is so limited, you might put things into buckets that are not appropriate. You might put into like, well, your parents are acting like this because of why, when in reality, you didn't really know what was going on in the world. You didn't really know what was going on in your parents' life. You didn't really know what your parents were going through when they made the decisions, like to name you Rudy instead of some other traditional Middle Eastern sounding name. The benefit of maturity and history and having a broader world perspective, I think, is very important when you're doing any kind of self-reflection.
I'm just curious, who are some of your heroes in writing? Because you're such a beautiful writer. So who inspired you?
Glennon Doyle's Untamed would be probably my number one. I wanted to write one where you're not like, hurry up, where's the end? I wanted to be written where people are like, oh no, it ended. And that's how I felt with Know My Name and Untamed. It's like, no, more, more, more. I hope that throughout the whole book, it didn't lose energy. It kept everybody not just entertained, but engaged going through the process with me.
If you don't mind, I'm going to read another one of your reflection questions, because what you're saying you wanted to achieve, you absolutely did. I think the reflection questions are the ones that give pause, where your memoir, it's not just reading a story, I'm participating in it. And that's what I think makes this so extraordinary. Okay, old lady glasses back on. Let me find what family stories were passed down in whispers or scraps, not full sentences. So as soon as I read that, I'm thinking back to pieces of puzzles that have been said.
And with that, trauma is passed down through at least 7 generations. And so when we're just getting the scraps, it doesn't help us understand who we are and what makes us up. I'm hoping that by writing this, it helps my kids. My kids understand who I was and why things happen. And my stepdaughter had reached out and she said, wow, this really helped me understand you. It helps me understand the boys more. Yeah, it's doing what I'd hoped it would do.
This is another question. Who helped raise you quietly, imperfectly, but with a kind of love that still lingers in your bones? Oh my God. Because again, that's where it feels interactive, because as soon as you pose that question, I'm immediately transported to my own youth. And then I feel this overwhelming sense of gratitude, and then also hope that the people who were there quietly and imperfectly know they've passed away now. I mean, now as an adult, I realize their significance, but as my younger self, this is why it's so moving what you wrote. I'm hoping that they knew.
Yeah. And my hope is that if they are still alive, that people are reaching out to those people. Maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a coach, maybe it was a grandparent, maybe it was a, aunt, whatever it might be, that they're sharing their gratitude with them because they realize that, wow, they were so important in my life. I've tried to write letters thanking people from my past and that kind of stuff. And some that are gone now, like my college professor and mentor has passed. And I know she knows because I've told her, and I think hundreds of students have, but tell the people how important they are and how grateful you are and the impact they had on your life.
And that is a very healing, it's one of the most beautiful things, if you ever have the opportunity to do. It still makes me want to tear up. Because sometimes you might say something to somebody and you have no idea the kind of impact. When I was in high school, I think it was my freshman year, my teacher walked in. She was the math teacher. We were doing algebra. I think the first day, she said, my job is to make sure that you know more when you walk out of here than when you walked in. Just that simple phrase. Here I am in education and even in podcasting, and that is the cornerstone of my thought, of my mission, that when anybody listens to an episode, they know more than when they started. When any university student leaves my classroom, they know more than when they walked in. A few years ago, I was giving a keynote at my former high school, and I brought that up. Now, Rudy and I just celebrated like our 30-year reunion. I had no idea that the teacher was in the audience. No idea. When we were done and she walked up to me, and she looks different, like it's been a while. And I gave her the biggest hug and I just cried. And I don't think that she knew. That's something she said every semester, right? When the kids came in, that would be the foundation for how I approach my own work now. Mm-hmm. And that moment of being able to say thank you is one of the most beautiful things.
Yeah, there's so much healing. There's so many healthy benefits of expressing gratitude. I say go to town. Never do too much.
Well, you said that, people didn't know. Was there any part of you that hesitated? Like maybe you were just being raw and enjoying the writing process. And then when you realize, oh, other people are going to read this, was there any hurdle for you?
Yeah, there still is at times. I think I've developed a little bit of an ulcer of having my story out there, of being so raw and real and letting anybody read it. So there are days where I'm like, okay, it gets tired on working, you get tired promoting and all these things that come with, you get exhausted. It's like, is it worth it? And then I get a message from someone that this is how I spent 20 years of my life, feeling like if I should keep going and all this kind of stuff. And your book gave me so much hope. And so it's like, oh, I got to keep going. It is scary putting yourself out there and you wonder what professionally or anything, what people might think. But most of me doesn't care because part of me is like, okay, maybe the healing was just the writing, but there's so much more that I need to do yet. And I think this is helping.
How did you write? Did you write in fragments and then organize it?
I did. Yep. I wrote in fragments. I wrote it all on my phone.
Really?
I tried to sit down a few different times with the laptop and write, and it just felt weird. And so, yeah, I would write sometimes 3 a.m. Things would come and I would start writing and then taking the pieces, putting them in order. It was just how I felt and how I felt. Okay, I covered this. Now let's move to this. That's why there's 3 different discs. They kind of go in order chronologically from birth to high school graduation and then my college years and before coming out and then after. I'm a tracker kind of person. So I had a bookshelf of these books and I would color a book in every 1,000 words. So that would kind of keep me motivated to keep going.
Something might be very healing for other people to read. I mean, Rudy and I grew up, we went to Catholic school, and the way in which you describe that you do have this devotion that is in your heart, but at the same time, growing up in a religious framework, you're experiencing the joy and the faith that comes along with that, but also this feeling of guilt or wondering if you fit in or if God loves you or if you were wrong. I think that would also be very helpful for the youth who might be going through the same thing. But can you describe a little bit more about that conflict and the feeling? And then as you got older, what you understand about that experience?
Yeah, so that's a touchy one. I like to think that there are Christians and there are religious people. For me to believe in God and love God, but yet be told that God doesn't love me in so many different circumstances and at different points in time. And even now, I'll try to find a church. They'll say something, or marriage is just a man and a woman, or, something like that. And immediately I'm right back to that 4th, 5th grader sitting in the pew, hearing that, because I knew at a young age and hearing that I was bad and not understanding what that meant. Like I thought I was a good person, but I'm being told that I was bad. It takes me right back. And so then I'm like, okay, how can I keep loving somebody who supposedly doesn't love me? And I just take it to the point where it's their thoughts that God doesn't love me. It's not God. He's ever loving, always loving, loves the imperfect. I hope that people just, if they want religion in their life, God in their life, that they don't take what people are saying, whether it's keyboard warriors or in a church or whatever it might be, to heart that who they are is wrong, because that's not true.
Does it play a role in your life now? What community, what have you found works for you, or have you?
There are some in town where I live that are welcoming, but it's still sometimes painful every time I go out there to try to find a church home or something like that. Some feeling of not being fully welcomed.
Well,
Right
hey,
now,
come
it's
to
just,
California. You're going to be good.
yeah, right? Right? I know. Yeah.
You'll be,
Pretty
what state are you in?
North Dakota.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that's
Oh my
enough said.
goodness. All right. Well, part of your book tour, you've got to come to Southern California
Yeah,
because I mean, hell, there's like whole churches where,
yeah.
every it's very accepting. But that has to be a very difficult experience for the young and adults alike who are still silent. Something so deeply personal and important that they're walking into this space and then also at the same time being told that they're a contradiction or the very understanding of what they means to enjoy their life is not aligned with the scripture scripture that is being pulled. And that's not necessary. It's a false dilemma.
A narrative that I hope that will change, but I feel like we're going backwards.
Well, I think that what you wrote, this idea that speaking up and telling your story can be a lifeline for others, because there's all sorts of reports and data about the youth, and when laws are more restrictive or culturally more restrictive, that's a danger for their existence. So I'm glad that you're writing this. Well, okay, wait, I have to ask again then. You're in North Dakota. What is it like to write about this?
It's hard.
In a conservative, in a conservative leaning area. How did you become you in a conservative leaning area?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. That's why there's some of those chapters in there. It's not easy. Yeah, like just last year, I went and testified at the Capitol because they were trying to end gay marriage in North Dakota. So I had to go and defend my family. And it's like, why are we still going through this? It's not easy, but you need thick skin and hope and humility and humor. And I call it the H factor, all these H words on how you just survive. And hopefully, eventually, you're strong enough to thrive.
And your wife, is she also from North Dakota? Like, does she have a similar experience and you guys found each other and you're like, okay,
Yeah, she has a lot more religious trauma than I have growing up. It was a lot harder on her because she was and I don't want to take her story away from her, but, had such a close church family. It was kind of an outlet for her, and then got really, really hurt. And so it's even harder for her.
What is the experience in the marriage when you have to tune out the spouse and be like, I got an idea, I got to get it down? I think that the people who write, we also need to remember that support group and all of the shutting out the spouse must have gone through, because writing is an inherently solitary affair, right? Yeah. So what was the relationship dynamic as you were trying to put this together?
Oh, you have no idea. So in the last 2 years, I wrote the book. We have she's 3 now, a 3-year-old, and she got her doctorate degree. That's what the last 2 years were for us. And so we both spent this time of shutting each other out a little bit to get things done. But yeah, she would know. It was like I almost needed one of those lights that would come on my head that, I'm in the zone. But she would know when the way I would look at her, that I'm in a writing mode. And so she would step back and that kind of stuff and give me the space that I needed. But yeah, it was hard to fit that in all the cracks of my life. When it would come, it's like, I got to get writing, because it comes and goes. It's not like I could just sit down, type away for hours. It was definitely spurts.
I only get the ideas when my mind is relaxed and I go for a walk. I remember one time I had to work on a paper for a conference, and I said, I'm going to walk to the baker down the street. It was just close to half a mile, so then a nice mile walk. And my partner says to me, he's like, I thought you had to write. And I said, I am. What I mean by that, because by the time I sit down at the keyboard, the idea has been worked out in my head and my fingers are typing away. I'm not in control anymore. It's just, that's the story.
Yes. For me, it's in the shower. So I found this notepad that you can write the paper while you're in the shower. So I have a notepad in there that I make notes. It's when I'm sleeping, I'll wake up. And so that's why a lot of it was just on my phone and Google Docs, because that's when it came.
There's a notepad for the shower?
There is. Yeah. It's like some special kind of paper it's a pencil and it writes on the notebook in there.
Okay, wait, back up. How did you find this?
I searched for it because I'm like, there has to be something, because I would get all these ideas in the shower. Sometimes I'm listening to podcasts while I'm showering and I'd want to write a note down on something to look into, or a stat or something like that. And so I just searched it out and found it on Amazon.
Oh my God. Rudy, there's a notepad for the shower, for shower thoughts. You need one for the sauna.
So it's funny. I know there's a Bluetooth speaker for the shower, which is good. Here's the thing though. Okay. I stopped using that because, unlike North Dakota, we here in California are in a water crisis. Although this year is pretty good. Like, I know everyone's talking about the drought that's going on in the rest of the nation. We're actually pretty good this year in California. But in general, I broke away from the habit of taking long showers because I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful of water. And the reality is, well, my water bill is killing me. We put these emergency measures into place. And so I'm the one that's like in the shower, even if it's cold, I get in, I try to get out. If I had that, Gwen, that wouldn't be very water.
Economical for you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very water resource friendly of me.
Okay.
So I'm going to ignore that one. But thank you, though. Thank you.
What was maybe one of the most joyful parts of you to write that as you're writing, you are happy to relive this moment and get it down?
I think anytime I write about my kids is my happy place. Even though my daughter's birth was very traumatic, I didn't know if I was going to go home with either of them. Yeah, I think writing about my kids. Any fun stories? I really enjoyed writing about the Saturday Night Live chapter
Yes,
or track. It's been
that's
such
right.
a huge role in my life. Since I was 5 years old, I got a TV and would watch that. And so all those characters, and my dream is to be on 2 episodes. I don't want to be just a one time, but I don't want to be a regular.
And then what was one of the harder things to write? Did you start and maybe start to tear up and it was hard and you thought, no, this is important? What's the hard part?
Well, the hard part's going to be putting on Audible. When I do public book readings, I pick the easy ones like the Saturday Night Live chapter or happy ones that are easy to read.
One recommendation, a couple things. Number one, you could plenty of voiceover folks that you can hire you can use backstage, which there's plenty of people there, or you could use the virtual voice.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be in your voice, I've tried to read some of my own books and I have failed miserably at it. And people have said, "Hey, man, this really needs to be in your voice." I'm like, "Look, I tried. I can't do it. I've gone to alternatives, and it's not the same.
Yeah.
Literally, it's not the same." But I will say, Amazon's virtual voice for Audible, I've used it for a couple of years now. It's really damn good, and you could choose different types of voices, and you can go in. There's going to be a lot of mispronouncements in there.
Yeah.
Just make it a suggestion.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll have to say this chapter was read by AI Annie because I can't read it on my own.
Yeah.
But I just think it's really important. And I know a lot of people, they're like, we're going to buy the Audible too because we want to hear it. And I want to add stuff to it. So there'll be some hidden tracks and there'll be some extra tracks and that kind of stuff in the Audible book because everybody's like, well, how come this story wasn't in there? And how come this story wasn't in there? And so I'm remembering all these things that I forgot. So some of that might make it into the Audible book.
Let's see, you got your She-Ra session,
Yeah.
which I loved. I was She-Ra for a Halloween
Yeah.
growing up, and because I remember I had the sword and the,
Mhm.
the fake thing. Rudy, I'm going to ask you this because I also just love the word that you used here. This is part of the reflection. What's a compliment you still hold on to like a flashlight? Like a flashlight. And don't say fabulous hair, Rudy. Isn't that a fucking good question?
Yeah, damn it. And I'm actually trying to think of a really good answer. I remember one time somebody said something to me. I was in law school and it was something along the lines of, but it's not even somebody that I hung out with that much. But when she said this to me, like at 26 years later, I still remember it. It's always so good to see you at a party or at an event because you seem so genuinely happy to see people. I don't know if I jumped on the genuineness or the happy to see people, and that's good. Meaning, in my mind, because my mind's an asshole. It's a whole other episode. It's our cognitive behavioral therapy episode where we talk about that. In my mind, it's like, oh, I'm going to walk in here and nobody's going to want to see me. But so this person that I don't even hang out with that much says, me and others love it when you come because you bring so much joy and happiness, and we feel like you're happy to see us. It's really nice. It's not like, oh, you're funny, or oh, you're a clown, or oh, you're so this or that. It's just like, it's nice that we feel the happiness in you just when you see us. So whatever that is, I have kept that with me because I think that actually describes me to a T. Now, selfishly, I think as Gwen knows or as other people know, I actually get a lot of energy being around people. So I think subconsciously, yes, I am very happy to see them. And yes, it's genuine. But that's because I really am genuinely happy because I get that energy. I've held on to that one like a flashlight.
My coach told me that because one of the big reasons I hired her was to like, what is my purpose? And she's like, your purpose is your energy. When people can feel it, when you're authentic, when you're genuine, people feel it. And I think that is a huge piece. So that made you feel seen, probably. whenever somebody can give you those compliments, and they might even be, that was a small compliment. That wasn't like, you changed my life. I thought it was going to, it wasn't something like that. It was something small like that. And we don't know. I don't know when I say something to a student in my class that's going to change the trajectory of the rest of their life. I told one student the other day, I'm like, you do really, really good work. And I could tell, I saw his whole demeanor the rest of the semester different. And I saw his work even elevate even more because he noticed that I noticed. And so we don't know what our energy, what difference it's making for people. It's just keep being a good human, I think.
It is as simple as that. Just looking back at my own students, and there's one that I like, but really was not performing up to his level. He was one of the ones that would stay after class and ask a lot of career advice and ask for me, what about this job? What about that job? What about that? I just told him, I was like, okay, I'm here and I'm talking to you. You just turned in this assignment and what's going on? Like, you're better than this. I know you're better than this. You're an intelligent person. You're answering, but what you turn in is slop. Stop it. Lo and behold, towards the end of the semester, vast amounts of improvement. Just me taking the time to say, I'm not just going through stuff and making check marks. I'm seeing who's turning stuff in, and I'm reflecting on who you are presenting in this class. And you show me how much you actually care about becoming a good attorney. Well, that's not reflecting in your work. My number one thing that I'm beating up on you guys is professionalism and taking yourself seriously. And that starts now in this class. And there was just like a shift where the work started to get better and there was more of an effort. So you're right. Taking the time to tell students what you really think, and when they're doing great, but also when they can do better. As teachers, we can't just be all kumbaya because we're worried about hurting people's feelings. We have to tell people when they're not performing up to what you think they can perform at. You just can't do it like a jerk.
Yeah, I had that the other day.
It's more and more important now because it seems like because of technology, we're getting more distant. Even with students using AI to submit their work, we're not getting their personal point of view and they're losing sight of how to do that. Even just emailing instead of in-person office hours. And the further we get away from that human connection, it's harder to even have that opportunity for growth. Like, I love that, Rudy, you just said, stop it. Not like, I hear you, what are your feelings? You're like, just knock it off and get your work done.
Yeah, and I believe me,
they need to hear that because everything's like soothing, right? Algorithms get you what you want. You need food. DoorDash will bring it to you. Like, everything is soothing to make everybody comfortable. And we need to just say the way in which I show that I care is by telling you, knock it off. I'm being genuine. You can do better work. Do it.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to dismiss people's feelings. I'm not. Believe me, I'm somebody who feels too much, and I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm not trying to dismiss that, but you're right, Gwen. We really do need, and they need. In fact, at the end of the semester, more than one student, so multiple students came to me and said, one of the things that we like about you is that you, A, care, B, are so tough and are telling us how tough it is out in the world and actually opening our eyes rather than like putting these rose-colored glasses and not ignoring the impact of AI on the law. And you're explaining how we can attack that and do everything. Like, thank you for being so honest with us. There's honesty in toughness. Like, life is freaking tough, right? Like, it is so damn hard. And what service are we providing to students or anybody else out in the world by trying to make them think that it's not hard? It's really hard. Now, how you approach that difficulty, you have to choose what works for you. I agree with you. Like, we got to be respectful, but we can't lie to people. And a lot of times, kindness or this or that is lying to people. That's my opinion.
I love that. It's said like a true Gen Xer. I had an idea, Nicole. I'm loving your reflection question so much. I think that what you've done here would actually be really great for families. If they have your book, then they need to have a dialogue, or get closer. Just every time when you have a family meeting or a family gathering, pull out some of these questions from your book and go around the table, make everybody put their phones down. Or maybe this is a good way for parents to connect with their children by asking some of these questions. Oh, okay. Who or what told you you didn't belong? And can you offer that part of you a new story? Imagine if parents or grandparents were answering that question in front of their children and then getting a better sense of the trajectory of their family history or what were the concerns. These are also great questions questions, not just for journaling on a personal level, but for getting to know your family members or your spouse.
Absolutely.
I love them.
Yeah, highly recommend doing it. And I know some couples that are reading it together. And in fact, my son and his fiance, they read it together and talked about
Really?
each chapter and stuff afterwards.
This is a book where we need a pairing. You need to get yourself a journal or a bottle of wine.
I make these little baskets to donate. So it's a book and a bottle of wine. I make the glass, I do glass etching, and it says, read between the wines.
Congratulations on your book. I'm really excited to be sharing it. It's one of those experiences where, oh my God, it just sounds so corny, but every once in a while when I read something like your book, I feel this sense of gratitude that I get to read it, that I came across it. And I mean that. Just much gratitude to you and to your supportive wife, who put up when you're doing all the writing, because I know that that's tough on the spouse too. Yeah, thank you so much.
It's good to hear it because sometimes you just feel like, is it good enough? I don't know if all authors question themselves that way or not. And so for someone who doesn't know me, thank you for those words. No, you know me now, but
I know you now. And I'm waiting for you to come out to California and check out all the chaos here.
All about it.
Good is in the Details is produced by Dr. Gwendolyn Dolske and Rudy Salo. If this episode is making you think about philosophy a little bit more, go on over to Patreon, where you can do a deep dive into philosophical ideas and book recommendations and support the pod. And if you're interested in starting your own podcast, I have got some links in the show notes for podcast resources. And if this episode resonated with you, reach out to us. Instagram, Good is in the Details Pod, or our website, goodisinthedetails.com. And if you're really loving the show, please leave a rating or review. It helps the podcast so much to reach a bigger audience and continue this work in public philosophy. Okay, until next time, bye.